G'day everybody.
Hey there, from little downtown Preston, next to Reservoir.
Next to
Australia.
Reservoir. Have a guess who popped in for dinner.
Couple Aussie boys here.
Hello to the mBit international community. Hopefully we'll see some people come on board, and if they don't, that's okay. We're going to have a chat. Grant's got some stuff he wants to share. He's had an amazing couple of months and an even more amazing few weeks. And for people that are interested in potentially doing the mBit Master Coach certification,
Master Coach stuff happening here,
which I've done, and I highly recommend. Grant has had some amazing learnings. So anyway, we're going to have a bit of a chat, and hopefully you're going to enjoy it. And hopefully we're going to see some people come online. And if we don't, well, that's okay as well.
We're going to enjoy it because we were about to have this conversation together anyway. I was just sharing with Bill, and he said, wait a minute, let's do a Facebook Live. So why not? Why not involve anyone else who wants to listen to this? So I was sharing with Bill that some of the blinding flash of the insights that have occurred over the last couple of weeks with working with my mother, who is deeply and sadly, she's, the backstory is my dad died 10 months ago, and the massive heart attack. Mum had Takotsubo induced, which is heartbreak syndrome induced heart attack 2 hours later, and from that she sort of spiraled down into depression and anxiety because of the loss of her soulmate that they'd been together 63 years, and she really didn't want to be on the planet anymore without Dad. She ended up in a psychiatric hospital because she was just in such a bad way. She was in, from an mBit perspective, a head-gut loop that was creating both anxiety, which as we know is sympathetic dominant, so accelerator of the car maxed out, and she was deeply depressed, which is dorsal vagal from a master coach perspective, which polyvagal perspective, which means one arm of the vagus, which is the freeze response. She was in deep freeze, which is the brake of the car, and she was maxed out at the same time the accelerator of the car. So you can imagine what that did to the engine of the car.
Burning the candle at both ends.
Absolutely. That being her and her life, and it really put her into a terrible place that really she needed to get her neurochemistry rebalanced, because at that point in time, no mBit technique, no talking therapy technique, no psychotherapy technique could help. Yeah. It was really, you need to send the car to the mechanic to fix up what was causing because the accelerator and the brake had been hooked together somehow or other, locked together and welded themselves together so that they were both stuck to the floorboards. Yeah. And so, anyway, over the last 4 or 5 weeks, she's been in hospital and been working closely with complementary therapy with her psychiatrist. Her psychiatrist is totally cool with me using mBit techniques, and she'd heard about the gut brain, Professor Gershen's work on the enteric nervous system. She didn't do much with it, but she'd heard about it, and so I've been wearing the t-shirt, so, well, embarrassingly occasionally, because I've been living out of a suitcase, and I just happened to have brought a couple of t-shirts, because we came from being in a cave, Fiona and I, back to Melbourne, and thinking we're only going to be here for 4 days, and, well, been here a lot longer than 4 days, to look after Mum, be with Mum. So, anyway, long story short, well, I've been watching what's been going on with this presentation of what Mum's got, and with the drugs that have been the antidepressants and what those antidepressants have been doing. Yeah. And one of the things that I've been really interestingly seeing, and with Mum's permission, I actually videoed some of what was going on with her body during these. She's been having sympathetic storms in her body induced by intensely strong amounts of the antidepressant.
So just before you go any further, explain what a sympathetic storm is.
So a sympathetic storm is where these particular drugs are creating a huge amount of noradrenaline in her bloodstream. Yeah. Noradrenaline is the neurohormone that's the fight and flight hormone. It triggers the cascade of then adrenaline and all of the cortisol, all the things that go into the fight and flight that trigger the autonomic nervous system into sympathetic dominance. And when you get a sympathetic storm, it literally is the sympathetic nervous system is just maxed out.
Right.
Now, in terms of the presentation with Mum, what you would see is, and it would come in waves. So, of course, because she's got both depression and anxiety, so it's like that slight imbalance between the accelerator and the brake.
Yeah.
If you've got both of them maxed, a little bit of imbalance, and suddenly the car's moving forward, and then if the brake, it's like slams the brakes on if it's just a slight imbalance. So what you'd actually see, and this is really germane to the Master Coach material, in terms of, we know that the right hemisphere of the head brain is innervated strongly by the sympathetic nervous system. So when you go into sympathetic dominance, you get right hemisphere dominance.
Right.
And was that an mBit joke?
No.
Nice joke? Okay.
No, that's me going, yes, correct.
And the left hemisphere, of course, is the head brain is connected to the parasympathetic. Of course, the head brain is contralaterally wired into the body. So what you see when the right hemisphere, you see on the left side of the body, and the left hemisphere, parasympathetic over dominance, you see right side of the body. So what you would actually see is, of course, when the sympathetic storm starts, you start seeing, first off, the first thing you do is you see a removal of the dorsal vagal, which the removal of the ventral vagal, of the voice-face heart circuit. So the vagus nerve has these two arms, evolved at a different time, and the ancient one, the more reptilian, lizard-like one, is the freeze response one, because you can take a lizard, chuck it in a bucket of water apparently. I've never done this, but apparently according to Stephen Porges on polyvagal theory, you can do this and they'll go into hibernation, you can pull them out an hour later and they'll start breathing again and it's okay. You stick a human in a bucket of water and more than 2 minutes later you've got a funeral rather than hibernation. So with us humans, we mammals, we evolved this voice-face heart circuit, this more modern myelinated arm of the vagus nerve, and it's hooked to the tend and befriend circuit. So when someone gets into a bit of stress, sympathetic nervous system starts to elevate. It's often for humans, for animals that are in a social situation, it's often a social stressor that's triggered this.
Right.
So the first response is to put on what's called the vagal brake, which is you hook into more of this voice-face heart circuit. So you'll smile, you'll look people in the eyes, you'll make voice tone, like, all these sorts of voices that mothers do with children, with babies, to amplify these voice-face heart circuit of the vagus nerve. So you see, when this sympathetic storm would happen, you would see actually the withdrawal of that vagal brake, because when that voice-face heart circuit is working, it actually acts as a brake on the sympathetic nervous system. It slows the heart rate down and it stops you from getting angry with the other person and therefore creating a reciprocal fight situation. So if you're in a bit of a stress, the first thing you'll do is try and put the vagal brake on. If that isn't working, then the vagal brake gets removed and the sympathetic nervous system hooks in and you will do the fight. And if that doesn't work, then the flight. And if that doesn't work, the freeze. That's when you go into parasympathetic rebound. You go into this ancient dorsal vagal part of the reptilian vagal sort of thing, and you do the freeze. And what we're actually seeing with Mum is you would see the remove. So you're looking at her, and you'd see the eyes. You'd see she's alive in her eyes. You see the facial, the striated muscles of the face. She literally was. You could see she was home.
Yeah, right.
But as it started to come, flat affect. Muscles stop moving. The eyesight. It's like the eyes glaze over. She withdraws inwards, and then you would start seeing the left leg start to vibrate. And it would vibrate and vibrate and vibrate, and then it would start to, wants to run. It would actually go beyond vibrate to start doing that. Then the right leg, when it got strong enough, it went across the hemispheres, and then she would start doing it, and it would be doing the, not up and down at the same time, not vibrating, but literally running on the spot. Then the arms would start, the breathing would kick in, and her body would go into the sympathetic storm, which was literally her body attempting to flight, to run away. And as it would go, she would then do the reverse. It would slow down. The right
as the sympathetic storm would go.
Yeah, the right leg would stop, then finally the left leg would stop, and then she would come back out, and she'd be like, she's back. And I wrote down one of the things that she said about the whole experience of when she was, going through all these storms, etc.
Just before you read it.
Yeah.
So what you're saying to me sounds like movies that we see. We see people in places and they're going through all these things and they're considered to be mad or crazy or insane or something along those lines. See you, Pete.
See you, Pete. Bill's son's just heading off for an evening of entertainment.
So that sounds like you're describing somebody that we see in one of those movies where crazy people supposedly...
Yeah, and they look like they're crazy, but in fact what's happening is their autonomic nervous system is either going into catatonia, right? And there's different forms of catatonia.
Yeah.
There's a form of of catatonia, which is called manic catatonia, which the drugs mum was on drove her in last Saturday into manic catatonia, and it looked like she was in you know, like a deep can't move because she's too parasympathetic.
Yeah, right.
But in fact, it was she'd gone beyond that running, and the running away wasn't working, so it went into freeze mode. Right, and so she would flick between these two modes back and forth until the whole storm would go, and then she would come back, and her ventral vagal circuit would work again, and she could look at you, and she was back. And so when we see those Ken Kesey movies, when we see all that sort of stuff, you know, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and that's the extreme version of it. But each of us goes through a smaller version of it, and from a coaching perspective, you're going to see this in people's presentations. They talk about what's going on, and they've got a meeting coming up, or they've got to go and like be a musician playing on stage, and they're starting to get stage fright, and then they lose fine motor control, because when that happens, when the sympathetic nervous system kicks in, you get the vibration, you lose the cerebellum connection. The cerebellum connects into the areas in the head brain that provide the autonomic neuroception and nervous system response. So, yeah, exactly.
I'm going to let you read the notes in a moment.
All right.
So what I want to talk about is I want to talk about...
Hey, Leah! I'm just seeing that Leah's there. Yay!
Hey, Leah. And yes, just Leah at the moment. G'day, Leah. And so Grant, at Master Coach, when we went to Master Coach, it was a lot of mBraining stuff. It was basically mBraining, but it was an understanding that was going beyond what we learned in the first 4 days in coach certification.
Yeah.
And we walked away being able to understand that calibrating somebody was not now just noticing where their hands were gesturing, but also how their body was moving, and which hand was gesturing and which hand was moving, and
the quality of the movement, the sympathetic versus parasympathetic had completely different qualities of movement, comes out in different neurolinguistics. Thus, something I wrote down that Mum said.
I'll let you read that now.
Okay, so she said that when it starts happening, when she ends up in this withdrawal of voice-face-heart circuit and into this starting to get the little bit, and even if it was only a little bit of the vibration, because these things will come in waves, some really small, some bigger, just like waves on the beach, right? Because they are waves of neurohormones flowing through our endocrine system, out of the hypothalamus in the head, triggering into the body, right? And then the liver and all the rest of it would metabolize things. So she's got these different waves going through her body through there. She said, when it starts to happen, I don't want anyone to see me like this. Because we'd say, well, we want to bring in some visitors. There are always people who love her and want to see her. And she would say, I don't want anyone to see me like this. And that meant the staff, the other patients, anyone.
Full stop.
Right? Full stop. And if you look at that from an mBit perspective, I don't want, where do you do wanting? Desire?
Oh,
in the heart. When you want something, I want. And I want you, right? I want. Want is in the heart. I don't want anyone. Anyone is talking about people, so it's others. About others, so it's about social connection. What's the voice, face, heart circuit about? The ventral vagal circuit is about social facilitation of positivity resonance, of heart-to-heart connection, relational affect. So it's about, I don't want anyone, I don't want the dog, or I don't want the light bulb, or I don't want the camera, I don't want another person to see me through the eyes, which are part of the voice, face, heart circuit, the ventral vagal, the eye muscles, and and this I said, you see Mum disappearing in her eyes, because the eyes and the autonomic nervous system takes information directly out of the retina in very coarse ways. There are ganglia that feed directly, apparently, according to the neuroscience that I've come across. It's only in the last couple of years they've discovered that the autonomic nervous system is taking information directly from the eyes, not from the visual cortex, although it does that as well, but also coarse information from the eyes, and the muscles of the eyes are innervated by the autonomic nervous system. Eye gaze and etc. is all autonomic. You don't have to think about it. A loud noise and your eyes go straight over there before your head brain even notices, because the ears are hooked in a coarse way into the autonomic nervous system, into your neuroception, which is Stephen Porges calls your sixth sense. It's the sense of the autonomic nervous system taking information through everything, your hair follicles, temperature, the whole lot, right? And you can see the shifts in temperature in Mum. And she'd go from hot hands to cold hands, and the left and right hand. I mean, it was absolutely classic out of Master Coach. And I was just like, oh my God, it was amazing to see. And it allowed me to understand what was going on for her. Feed that into the psychiatric community, and the nurses and the doctors. in ways that they aren't necessarily across yet. Because this stuff, this last 2 years, 3 years, 5 years of research, Stephen Porges, Bud Craig, some of the stuff's only been discovered in the last couple of years. Right? Hasn't gotten into being taught in psychiatry yet. Hasn't gotten into being taught. If I say autonomic nervous system, they just think, literally, you get, whatever that is, you get, when you're doing psych, I've got a couple of psych degrees, found as a nurse, I've spoken to doctors, you don't get much. You just learn about the autonomic nervous system, it's fight and flight, the 4 Fs, sympathetic, parasympathetic, and that's as far as it goes. It never then feeds into how that plays out in human behaviour, the calibration of the human behaviour, and this up and down regulation of personality. It's linked to the Big 5 personality test, your autonomic spacing, all that stuff. And I'm watching this and being able to go, here's how these psychiatric drugs are working with my mother's presentation and what's going on at a deep head, heart, gut level in terms of her core identity, her values, and what was important to her, and having lost her soulmate of 63 years, and etc. And it's been allowed some amazing, and wonderful interactions between the staff, my mum, us, incredible joy of being able to help somebody and building some incredible relationships. But the blinding flashes are obvious that have come out of watching this and going from, here's what the textbooks have been saying, or the science papers, implications, applications that have come out in Master Coach, but here's how you actually use it in real life. Rubber meets the road, your own mum, in an intensely, deeply painful place. And I can fully understand it. Like, when she went through the sympathetic storm last weekend, it was like massive because of this particular drug she was on, and it was a classic presentation of the over effects of that textbook stuff. When she went through that, she was saying, and her body went into thermal overload. Like, thermoregulation is autonomic nervous system. Sympathetic. She was in sympathetic storm. She was literally burning up. She was bright. She was the colour of your t-shirt. Yeah, wow. Right? And her blood pressure was 225 over 125 for 2.5 hours. Jeez. That's stroke kind of material, right? And she's got some strong vascular systems to cope with that, right? Supporting her. Her pulse was 125 for 2.5 hours for an 80-year-old woman, right? Oh my goodness, right? We had flannels on her. We were cooling down. We were doing things like all sorts of stuff that married up to validate what was going on for her. We knew she was running. Her body was running. So I was saying, we're running with you, Mum. We're running. We're getting away from it. It's gone. The danger's gone. And we could calm her down a little bit until the drug brought her back in again. And we're helping her go through this, right? And we got through the thermoregulation. When she came out of it, she said she'd been conscious of the whole time, and it had been incorporated into symbolic, sort of waking dream. Yeah, wow. And she had a fire inside her, and it was burning up Melbourne, and it was creating danger for everybody. And the fire was inside. When she pointed to it, it was right at the point, which is where the solar plexus is, which is the point where willpower is done. Wow. Right? And she had this wheel that she was running on. And she couldn't, as fast as she ran, she couldn't get away from the danger of this fire that was going to burn up the whole of Melbourne. Right? And she said that these waves of heat that were going through her body were also intensely painful. Now, the latest work on that Bud Craig, A.D. Bud Craig, Dr. Craig's work, has been on the neuroceptive system. And he's actually found that the deep pain receptors are autonomic. Yeah. And, of course, the temperature receptors are autonomic. And they share the same neural pathway up the lamina 1 part of the spine, up into the insula. So pain receptors and temperature receptors overlap in the neural circuitry they use. Right. So that deep pain can feel like heat, and heat can feel like deep pain. It's one of the ways in which our body will respond more quickly in fight and flight to dangerous heat. So touch the thing, and you'll immediately get pain because the temperature will come across as pain as well as temperature. Right? Even before there's nociceptive damage, etc., that would cause pain, it's already firing. And so my mum was going through this deeply emotionally, physically painful because in her insula and therefore ACT, the deep sensory motor areas that are the representation of your whole embodied you, are entwined in this way. And so, there's this deep insights into what was going on. So I could validate for her and say, Mum, there's no question. Whereas, some of the other staff at that hospital that she was in when she had that, they just didn't get it. They think it's all in the head. And I say, I'm sorry, it's not in the head. It's in the full neural circuitry. It's actually deeply real.
Yeah.
You know, to her phenomenology, her body went through this. It's not in her head. She's not imagining it.
Yeah.
This is not a psychiatric issue. This is an effect of a drug, increasing noradrenaline, creating a sympathetic storm, and this is what's happening with her thermoregulation. Know what to do, know how to fix it, know how to work with it. And that's in the extreme case, right? And by the way, I should just mention, I've been invited to have a paper published in an international journal of psychiatry over in Europe. They contacted me and said that they've read mBraining, they love the work, and they'd like, and so I invited Dr. Suzanne Hemwood to co-author that with me. We're going to write some case studies and get mBraining into the psychiatric journal.
Nice.
So that psychiatrists, who like I'm working with my mum, have been quite open to me doing this complementary, but they'll start seeing this in their own psychiatric journals, and it become a very real modality for them, and not just something some guy is wearing a t-shirt with his mum.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting. So one of the things that you guys listening might have missed out on was that was the part where you spoke about how the autonomic nervous system is something that you've spoken about it for a moment, for quite a while now in this little chat that we've been having.
Yep.
The people that are watching, who are coaches,
Yep.
they don't know about the next part of mBraining.
Yep.
They don't understand about the autonomic nervous system. Talk a little bit about the autonomic nervous system so that they get an understanding of what they learn at Master Coach.
Yeah, so when Marvin and I designed Coach Cert, we designed it under a philosophy or a principle called KISS, Keep It Successfully Simple.
Hey guys. Hey Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Hey Jason.
Jason.
What
What else we got there?
Hi Leah. Hi Teresa. And hi. I'm not sure if I'm doing this correctly.
Oh, hi, a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Our list that there's heaps of things
Yeah.
there on
And Carolyn. Hi Carolyn.
Hey,
Hi
Caroline.
guys.
So it's a bit hard. We've got a little mobile phone and there's a little screen on there, but it's great that we can use this technology to connect with you guys. I know you're all over the planet. It's great. As long as some great Aussie contenders there.
That's it.
Go the Aussies. Oh, no, didn't say that. We're all part of the world.
Tell people about the autonomic nervous system and how that plays a role.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and this actually, not just for Master Coach, but this plays into my latest work, which represents the last 2 years of research, based on the work of this amazing functional neuroanatomist called A.D. Bud Craig. He spent the last 30 years studying the autonomic nervous system, and he is like the world leader in embodied cognition and embodied self, and how our sense of deep self, which of course in mBit terms we know about the heart brain, the gut brain, but he's just looking from the autonomic nervous system, which is taking the information from 95% of your cells and systems in your body are innervated in both sensory and motor sense from the autonomic nervous system through this polyvagal, this really polyautonomic. A guy called Dr. Stephen Porges has been working for 25 or more years on what he calls polyvagal theory. Poly means many, so many vagus. It's actually bivagal. You know, the vagus nerve has two arms. This more ancient dorsal vagal. Dorsal means on the back, on the rear, because it runs in the rear of the ventral vagal, which is the voice face heart circuit. So one runs more from the diaphragm down into the gut. The other runs from diaphragm up and does the ears and all the muscles around the ears, so sounds and voice, the larynx and pharynx, the striated muscle of the face. Something I was chatting with Bill about that he said, hey, come on, let's go do this live chat, was about, I was talking about the TMJ, talking about the muscles to do with the jaw and the mouth, right? And what people tend to do in armouring, and end up with TMJ problems, teeth grinding, all sorts of pressure on the teeth, etc., is to do with social decision making and social connection and stressors around that. Right? Not surprising, because what's happening is, if you go, as I was just discussing, if you go into something that's a bit of a social stressor, like your mother going into hospital and being deeply depressed, etc., and so you've got someone that you love, or you're going to a meeting, or you've got to deal with some customers, or your children, or your spouse, or pick some social or symbolic social, and you've got some of these stressors in your life. guess what you're going to do? You're going to want to try and put the vagal brake on the sympathetic nervous system because you're getting some stressors. Stressors around the heart because it's social affect, prime function of the heart, social connection. You put these stressors on, what you're going to want to do is stimulate the voice, face, heart circuit, striated muscles of the face, the muscles in the jaw, right? And if it's something to do with your core identity, something to do with it's social, but like in my case, related to my mother, and I'm an extension of my mother through genetically, etc., then it will likely be the jaw. As compared to if it was all to do just the heart, you might get something like, during this time, Fiona has been having problems with what they call dry eye, but it's actually weeping. Your eyes try to put out lots of moisture. She's been having lots of problems with her eyes. She had to have antihistamines while we've been in the hospital for the past month with helping my mum. This is not her mother. It's somebody she loves and is closely connected with. My mother, who she deeply cares about. So her, and she's very heart-based, and I'm very strongly gut and heart-based. It's my mother, but I core identify at a very deep level with my mother. So the jaw, the TMJ, is connected. This is distal end of the gut brain. So the gut brain overlapping with the voice, face, heart circuit of polyvagal is unconscious stress, sympathetic dominance at a heart-gut level. I've been unconsciously tensing my jaw and armouring on the left side, which is the right hemisphere. It's my body's way of attempting to go sympathetic dominance, right hemisphere. I want to get that out, but I need to trigger sensory neurons and motor neurons in the voice, face, heart circuit, the muscles in the face. But rather than being the lacrimal system, which is also connected to the voice, face, heart circuit, that ventral vagal circuit, Fiona does the eyes, I do the jaw, and ended up with teeth problems and had to go to the dentist and get some things sorted out because during this time of sleep when my gut and head brain and heart brain are all talking, I was clenching my jaw unconsciously, and now I'm like, oh, blinding flash of the obvious, right?
So what Grant's trying to say, basically,
long way.
In a long way, what Grant's trying to say is that when you go through an mBraining course and you get to understand how people are communicating, not only because of what they're saying, you also get to understand which intelligence they're activating or they're coming from by, the areas that they're gesturing from, etc. So, I can't think of a solution, or, I'm loving this, or, I identify as this, pointing down to the gut. The intricate part, the next part of the coaching practice is to get a better distinction of what other things that are occurring in your client actually mean and where they're coming from and what might be happening. So for example, we already spoke about temperature change and clammy hands. And often when you're going through a coaching session with clients, they're going to say, oh, I'm feeling a little bit hot, I need to take my jumper off, or did you turn the heater on or something? And actually it might not be the heater, it might be something else going on. The hands might go clammy. That actually means something. It could be an opportunity for you to find out more details about what it is that's triggered that response and where you could start the work from to help them get a result. So the jaw tightening is a response that's connected to the right side, which potentially is an area that you can go to begin an interaction with your client to understand what's going on for them and what is actually being triggered, and whether they are in a sympathetic dominant state or in a parasympathetic dominant state. You can get more clues.
Or both at the same time.
Or both at the same time.
And you can get it in different parts of the body.
Yeah.
So you have one part that's cold. My mother was getting parts of a cold, parts of the hot, and they'll waves. And they're all forms of communication of the autonomic intelligence. Yeah. In other words, the autonomic nervous system has been shown, and there's about 5 researchers I've put quotes on, saying that it's a brain in its own right. Yeah. Right. So there's some of the neuroscientists in autonomic neuroscience are saying it's a brain. And it has level of specificity. You can have one organ in sympathetic dominance and one in parasympathetic, and then the parasympathetic can be polyvagal, it can be in ventral vagal or dorsal vagal, freeze response versus tend and befriend response. The sympathetic has 2 arms, which Porges doesn't talk about, but some of the others I've come across. So in fact there are 4 arms, I call it polyautonomic system, and we delve into the languages that they speak in. Right? And I was telling Bill today how Mum's psychiatrist, where she's at the moment, absolutely amazing lady, said, understanding what's been going on for Mum and getting that feedback from us and beautifully taking it on board, said, come on Fiona, and took her down to the sensory room and gave her something to take to Mum, which was some of these weighted, and I've read about them, but I've never experienced them. It's a weighted cloak that goes over your back and over your shoulders. And I actually took some photos. I'm going to show them in open frame in Amsterdam at Mastercoach. Yeah. Some of these devices. So it communicates into, and I put it on, and oh my god! Right. And
so by weighted, it's kind of like a piece of clothing, and it's got lead weights in it.
Yeah. Or in this case, I think it's actually some form of little grains or something that's like...
Might be sand
or something that's heavy enough that puts this beautiful weight. And you lay it over, and of course the deep pressure sensors are autonomic, right? So this beautiful parasympathetic deep pressure sensors weighing on you. Oh my goodness! I mean, I would just had the little unconscious stress of being around a psych hospital where it's pretty full on with people screaming, etc. And my mother in a pretty unfortunate mind-body state, but getting well, more and more well every day. And I've been using mBit in my breathing and hooking to the voice-face heart circuit to bring my vitality alive in every moment. Truly, I've been having a lovely, wonderful time, even though it's a challenging time. Yeah. But nevertheless, there's going to be some autonomic, unconscious processes that are not amenable to head-based language. Yeah. But the language of the autonomic nervous system is you pull this thing on, and I'm going to buy one. It's beautiful, right? It's a deeply visceral sense that you can't even put words to. I have to go, and listen. When I go, what am I doing? Voice, face, heart circuit. Certain voice tonalities coming out in my larynx and pharynx to try and express from my autonomic system how it feels about this. Yeah. And this is what you start. This is what we teach in Mastercoach, right? This is what we're exploring in this this vitality consciousness and wisdom consciousness workshop that I'll be running in New Zealand and Italy. Yeah. It's deeply understanding how to use mBit in these ways to go deeper and broader in the layers of valued expertise that you bring as a coach, or as you bring as a person into your own life. Yeah, yeah.
So, and as a mother and a father and a brother and a sister.
Lover and how you're loving your life and expressing that to others and etc. So truly amazing stuff when you start to understand it at this level. You can watch almost any piece of human behaviour and go, right, I know where somebody crosses their legs versus when they're not crossing their legs, because they're trying to get a signal across the centre line to integrate, and feel more left and right balance. So they're doing something that may is slightly unconsciously stressing, and when you get the left and right across, so you can watch when somebody crosses their legs versus not, and what it means, and which hand they use versus which hand they don't use, and which ear they use, and how they orient just marginally with small, and how they tense up one side or the other in the voice space, whether their eyes go a little, they glisten, because the glistening is the tears, is the lacrimal, so whether they go bright-eyed or dull-eyed, and you can watch all these things and go, I know which bit of autonomic intelligence this is expressing for which brain is expressing, because the autonomic intelligence is both an intelligence and it's the communication and control pathway. It's the superhighway that the multiple brains communicate with, are controlled into their mode by, and it has its own memory, learning, higher order conditioning, etc. So, when people talk about muscle memory, it's not in the muscles, it's in the autonomic nervous system that innervates the muscles, right? And the somatic system that connects into that autonomic nervous system. That's Bud Craig's latest work. Amazing, profound stuff. And from a coaching perspective and a life perspective, I couldn't say more how blessed I feel to have learnt this stuff, not from a set of concepts, but the application perspective, the CIA perspective, to be able to be there to help my mum. I literally could not have helped her get through what she's gotten through, and to have not been traumatised by it, because I actually was able to use what was going on and express it in a way to her autonomic nervous system, using deep pressure and touch and temperature and all sorts of things, the voice, face, heart circuit, words, metaphors, symbolism, to help her actually grow as a person through it, right? And to embed that in, intensely ontological coaching in real life with somebody that you truly love, that you owe your life to. Yeah. I mean, thank you, mBit.
Yeah, nice.
and mBit Master Coaching. Timing was perfect.
I'm pretty sure we've spoken about those heavy blankets. People use them, carers who care for people with autism.
They're used a lot because a lot of the challenges with the research is showing with some forms of autism is it's an overreactive set of learnings in the autonomic nervous system.
Right.
Literally the sorts of things that would normally calm a normal person down, and I don't think that, what's define normal, right? And,
I'm normal.
Yeah. Well, I just like to think we're all differently enabled, right? There's no such thing as disabled, there's just differently enabled.
Yeah.
And with somebody who's on the autism spectrum, and depending on, there's different versions of this, what that can happen is that the voice-face-heart circuit, the normal thing that would be used to calm the vagal brake, to calm the sympathetic nervous system, actually triggers the sympathetic nervous system. So it's like my mum's, you got the accelerator and the brake. So the normal way of using voice tonality, normal looking them in the eyes, things like that, actually trigger sympathetic nervous system. So the more a mother tries to use what is naturally evolved mechanisms to calm them down, doesn't work. It makes it worse for them, right? And
is that why instinctively
they
we see people that will go up to somebody that's having an episode and hug them?
Exactly, that's why. And deep pressure and hold.
Yeah.
That's some of the things I was doing for my mother. And now we've got this lovely, sets of things that we can we put the blanket on her today, and it calmed her whole system down so beautifully. It's better than the drugs in a lot of ways. So, yeah, it's cool stuff. I think it's cool stuff. I feel it's cool stuff.
It definitely is cool stuff. If you
cool stuff. Got the t-shirt.
Using your multiple brains to do cool stuff. If how's your mum going, by the way?
Oh, today was the best day.
Had a tough time.
It's been pretty challenging.
Yeah.
Today was the best day she's had in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So today was a brilliant day, and we went for a walk out in the sunshine with her. We took her down to a cafe, and she had a cappuccino and egg. She had an egg and bacon muffin with me. Alright, it's not vegetarian, but anyway, her brain right now needs the protein, etc., to be rebuilding some. This will be a lot of neuronal growth going on there. Synaptic remodeling. So, and not just in the head brain, in the autonomic nervous system, the heart and gut brain.
Yeah.
Her heart's now come alive. We're deeply connected. She said some beautiful things today. She said things that made my beautiful beloved Fiona cry with joy of some of the things that my mum shared about how precious, the relationship is that we've had over these weeks and what it's meant to her and to all of us. So yeah, thank you. How she is right now is, and it's 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards, and one of the biggest challenges is how these drugs work, and and once we get her neurochemistry normalised, she'll be back out. She'll be dancing again because she loves her dancing.
Yeah.
We've put in place some goals for some amazing things, like she loves trains, so we've got a goal to go on the Gun on a train trip with her best friend and Fiona and I. So we've got all these things in place that will just be, something to live for.
Yeah.
And
something to look forward to.
Yeah, and so rather than, because she met Dad at the age of 16. They were together for 63 years. She'd had a very tough and challenging childhood, and Dad was the guts. She was the heart. They had the overlap at the head. Together they made a beautiful foundational sequence, and they did it in foundational sequence, right? And together they made this beautiful family unit, of which I feel blessed to have grown up in that family. And once the gut, goes, the sisu, that gut, that sense of gut determination that my dad had, she felt lost at that level. Yeah. And it kicked her into gut-based anxiety, which then, as we know from muscle coach, how many signals go up versus down of the parasympathetic and sympathetic, triggered her head brain into a runaway, head brain disturbed, the heart was switched off because when she grieved, when she connected to emotion, she had a heart attack. So the heart went, and she was a heart-based person. Kept saying, I've lost my centre, I've lost my centre. She literally had. Yeah. She's rediscovered that now. She's back into her heart. She's trusting her heart. She knows I will take any pain and transmute it using Thong Len technique, an mBit-based, Tibetan technique that I've mBit-ified. Right. And I'll ground that away and use that to, give her back love. And it's been transformational, truly transformational. I allowed the drugs to work. Previously she was fighting.
I did Master Coach about a year and a half ago, something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It was one of the early ones.
Yeah, one of the first.
And it was the second one actually, because the first one went for 3 days, and 3 days wasn't enough in the UK.
I was piloting it and trying to work out. I wanted to keep it as short as possible. You couldn't do it in 3 days. You just couldn't do it.
So I was there for 3 days out of 5 because I had to go and have a surgery.
Yeah, Phil was doing the full-on surgery.
Yeah, I was surgery-ing. And it sounds like in the last 12 months you've been able to understand it
Oh, live into it and
experience
absolutely.
it and go through the whole process. I have too, not to that extent that you have with your mum, but I've been able to understand more about myself. I've been able to understand why my left side of my body is hotter than the right side of my body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I have this unique gift now.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I need to take my jacket on.
Thanks to the stroking
that
occurred in your head brain, right? You now have this amazing
weird thing going on, but I understand it, so it's not freaking me out as much. And I suppose that's what Master Coach did. It gave me a couple of more tools to deal with those things.
Yep.
It gave me more understanding about what was happening that was completely unique, because whoever I ask about why am I hotter on one side to the other side can't explain it, doctors, whoever.
Yep.
So I imagine that Suzanne and is it Wilbert that is also running it? The Master Coach, or are you guys doing it together, or what's happening?
Up until now, I'm the only one who's been up to
that's
train
right.
it, right? Suzanne, I'm going to get her up and start doing some stuff. She's now experienced it, like as a participant.
Yeah, right.
I think 3 times. The new one in New Zealand will be the 4th time. I'm going to get her up doing some stuff. So we're kind of transitioning across because, as you probably know, as most people in the mBit community might know, I actually don't really want to be a trainer. I mean, you know, to me, training is more about how do I share these implication application techniques. I love designing trainings. You know, I'm a criterion reference instructional designer by training, and I used to do all sorts of amazing training designs for big corporates, you know, all over the world. But, and of course, NLP-based training design, etc. as well, format system, etc., etc. So I love designing trainings.
Yeah.
I don't really love getting up in front of the room and delivering them. I'm a massive introverting function dude, right? I live for 4 hours from Melbourne down a dead-end road, 1 hour from the nearest town where there's only kangaroos and koalas, and for a reason, right? I don't really want to be in a cave. But you can't share amazing stuff to change consciousness on the planet in a cave. You can only change your own consciousness, and then you take it away with you. What would be the point of that? If we're all souls, if there's a purpose to life, then it's not just to educate your own soul, it's to do something that changes the nature of the universe, I believe. So that's my deep philosophy, and from that perspective, I get up in front of rooms. But what I want to do if I'm getting up in front of a room is train amazing trainers like you, people who love being in front of the room, who get, you know, who really, it floats your boat. You know, it's your passion. So training isn't my passion. I actually started doing training and public speaking because it was one of my fears. I couldn't speak in front of 3 people without throwing up. And there's a gut brain thing, right? So I've got this rule that if I can't do something, I have to. I took up rock climbing because I had massive fear of heights, you know, and so I took up mountaineering and rock climbing and all that. If you've shown me something I can't do, I'm going to push through that. Right? I have incredible, my dad, Estonian gut-based sisu, right? I've got it. So, in spades. So, it doesn't float my boat, but I get out there. I train, I design the trainings, you know, pulling all the research together, and then create trainings, deliver it to you guys. Yeah. You go spread it across the planet in ways that I never will, you know, with passions and skills and abilities that just isn't me. Yeah. Right? I'm sure if I put my mind to it, I could be the best trainer in the world. But that's not what I want to do. I want to be the best researcher, taking the implications and applications to share it with the world and time-bind it. And it's a community. We build a wisdom community. Yeah. And to me, that's what it's all about. So
Suzanne's hosting you, right?
Suzanne's hosting me in New Zealand, and
when?
That's coming up in, I do believe, May.
Soon.
May? Sometime in May.
Suzanne.
Sorry, Suzanne, I don't have the dates in my head. I think it might be 12th of May or something. I don't know. Sometime in May. It must be on the website. Contact Suzanne. You can tell I'm not into the whole, you know, promoting.
You're just booked in. You're just going.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about you know, my master trainers, you know, our master trainers in this community, the Suzannes and Wilberts and Bills and Enricos, etc. of the world, is that what they do is they go, Grant, come and do, you know, you've developed this stuff, come and do this, and they just look after all that. And I'm not into this. If anyone knows me, you'll know I'm not. I love sales. I think everything we do, you know, Bill, you know, when have dinner with me, that's sales, right? But I'm just not into the whole sales and marketing thing. What I'm into is spreading stuff across the planet. Yeah. So Wilbert is Wilbert, Suzanne, and I. Wilbert's, you know, the one organising the Amsterdam one that's coming up in July. There's actually in end of June, because I was already going over there. I got contacted by an American training promotion company that loves our work, Pronto Seminars, and they asked me to come and do a workshop on my latest stuff in Italy.
Nice.
So I'll You know, I went to a heart math one they had in Italy, so I went, oh yeah, it's a beautiful place, Villa Zuccari. I mean, it's stunning, you know, in Umbria. Red wine, you know, and this actually happens to be some Italian red wine that you guys brought back from. Yeah. So you know, and that was from Tuscany, right, which is next to Umbria, which is right next door. So Villa Zuccari is like almost on the border between the two. So we're running a one-week workshop on my latest stuff on this embodied wisdom, embodied vitality, how to bring your relationships and your body alive through all this latest mBit, applied mBit through Bud Craig's work, through this neuroceptive work, and polyvagali and mindfulness. That's true embodied wisdom mindfulness. And so, yeah, that's all coming up. It's, you know, me getting out and doing what I don't really want to do, but I am excited.
You have to do it. We want you to do it. We need you to do it.
To get in a room with some amazing people. You know, there's some people who are flying from all over the world to come and...
It's really worth being in the room. You know, I'm somebody who's done it. I need to do it again because I had to leave, you know, 3...
You got the online bit. One of the cool things about Master Coach is I recorded it all.
That's it.
Put it online and I give it to free as part of Master Coach to the access to the videos for all the delegates who come to Master Coach. So that way you can be in the room. You don't have to write too many notes. You can just be in the room, experience it, and know you can go back and watch the material later on.
Yeah, really.
That was really helpful. It's a full packed 5 days because we cover the sex brain, the autonomic brain. We go deeper into the embodied aspects of coaching. We look at each of the brains, not just, you know, there's the heart, and is there a reference to the heart? We actually go into the subplexi in the heart and how you can actually coach and facilitate a change of heart. You know, I did behavioural modelling on people who've had a change of heart. Nearly everyone at some point in their life has had a complete change of heart on something. Yeah. When you look at the structure of that and you look at it from informed by neuroscience, right, and backed up by the ancient wisdom traditions, talking about how many chambers, you know, esoteric chambers or emotional chambers in the heart, and you look at the structure of that, it's really profound. You know, imagine as a coach if you could take somebody and help them get a complete change of heart in one, you know, 20-minute, half an hour coaching session, and you can shift them 180 degrees or something so they're completely aligned and congruent in a full body embodied way with their own wisdoming. So that's amazing stuff.
It is. You know what you said about the heart? Is that like the lobes in the brain? Yeah. There's different lobes of the heart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow. You missed that bit. Well, you got to go back and watch the videos, Bill. Come on.
Well, it's only 5 full packed days of stuff.
I know, and there's a lot of videos to watch. Right, exactly. That's right. So review those videos or come along to the next one we're running, and that's what Suzanne said after the second one and the third one. She was like, keep, you know, discovering new profound insights every time I sit in on this. And now she's going to start training it with me, and she'll be doing more in Amsterdam. And what I'm hoping is that by next year, I won't be running them, she'll be running them, and Wilbur is in that pipeline as well. And then, you know, and we'll get the other. Enrico's coming to his first one, and we'll just get the master trainers out there training it. And yeah, I don't have to do it then. I'll just keep developing the latest stuff because it's profound. You know, the neuroscience is uncovering some incredible stuff that gives laser-like precision to some of the ancient wisdom stuff. You know, and I've been living into the Buddhist and ancient wisdom stuff for the last 40 years of my life. Now I've got the neuroscience, I've got the insights of NLP, I've got all of the psychology, etc. background. Yeah. You put it all together and then you live into it, you get profound stuff that makes life amazing. You know?
As a coach, you get massive results with people where you wouldn't have understood how you got that result last time. And the fact now that you've got it, who's there?
Oh, so I just saw it, a message popped up and I thought, what are they
Patsy
saying?
Wood was,
hey, Patsy,
Gail's there, hi, Cheryl.
It's chronic in horses too, yeah, exactly. Horses are huge biofeedback amplifiers.
Yeah, wow.
So let your mum know we'll all be dancing with her. All right, I will let her know. I know there are many people saying prayers for her, and she's deeply spiritual, so she appreciates every prayer. Using weighted blankets every night to calm. Yeah, exactly. That's where it'd be really good. And I tell you, it's been helping my mum in a place where people are screaming. I mean, they literally are screaming.
Is it all covered in trainers training, says Leah?
No. No, in trainers training, we train you how to train the coach cert.
The coach cert.
Right? And you'll learn a lot about how to train the head, heart, gut, you know, and in autonomic balance, etc. But there's no way we can train master coach and trainers training. So the 6 days of trainers training is profound. You will get profound ontological shifts yourself. You'll step into the identity of an mBit trainer, and you'll know how to train the head, heart, gut, and you'll know how to train the coach cert. opens up the doors then for you to be able to, very inexpensively, I literally nearly give it away, the leadership decision making, which is the license for that is the trainer's training's online, and you need to have been to the 6-day in-room trainer's training to be able to watch the online, become an LDM trainer, or the Evolve Your World. And there are other leadership and courses coming. Which one should you?
Well, I'll tell you.
Which order? Oh wow! Hey,
I'll tell you the order that I did it, Leo. I did it. I did Coach Cert, then I did Trainers Training, then I did LDM. But what happened at Trainers Training was I learned how to train. So I didn't really learn anything else about the coach certification from the perspective of the way that I learned how to be a coach. I didn't learn any additional things. But what I did learn after I ran my first coach certification as a trainer was just the amazing difference it makes to be teaching what it is that we learn as coaches that we then use with our clients. To be teaching that, it just takes your understanding of mBit and your embodying of mBit to the next level. So it really worked for me to do Coach Cert and then Trainers Training and then run my first Coach Cert and then do Master Coach. Because when you do Master Coach, you've had all the experience, you've had all the understandings, you've had all of the use of all the things that you've learned, not only delivering a coaching session, but also teaching how people can deliver a coaching session. And then when you get to Master Coach, what you learn in Master Coach makes so much more sense, and you have a whole heap more BFOs. And that's the order that I would do it in. So if you can get to New Zealand and be in the room with Suzanne, with Grant and the other amazing people, do that. And then you'll be able to take that into your coaching sessions, and hopefully you'll be able to hook up with some people that also learn the Master Coach stuff, and they'll be able to swap with you and coach you with the Master Coach platform. And all the different stuff that you learn from that, etc. And you'll get a better understanding and you'll embody it further again. So do that. We've got a question here from Robin. Love how we were like a fly on the wall to your conversation.
And then you realize, wait a minute, they're there. All your comments and stuff. Because it's such a little window, we can barely see. I want to add to what you just said. I totally, at one level I totally agree. What we've previously done is done training, like in Amsterdam and Bath in the UK, we'd run Trainers Training, then we'd run Master Coach. Some of the people who did it recently in Amsterdam and Bath said, we feel it would have been better if you'd done the other way around. And so this year, for the first time, we're going to do it in Amsterdam, Master Coach, and then Trainers Training, and we're going to see what happens, because that's going to be our first time of doing it that way. So we just took the feedback on that. Some of them said, well, I reckon if you'd done Master Coach first and then Trainers Training. But I think what Bill's saying is really valid as well, because, I
know we need to do Coach Cert in Melbourne.
Suzanne is... Oh, the Trainers Training in Melbourne?
Coach Cert.
Coach Cert. Suzanne and Dave Marty Virgo are running a Coach Cert sometime soon in Melbourne, I believe.
Okay.
So if you want to see Suzanne in action running a Coach Cert, and she's awesome, and like she's so deeply integrated, she's run Trainers Training, etc. I don't know how many times now, co-trained it with me, and been through Master Coach, etc. So Leo, LDM, you name it.
Leo, just jump on board and send a couple of messages out, either on this post where hopefully a lot of other people will see it, and just find out who's got stuff coming up, because there are some things coming up.
Yeah, there are a few people who are running Coach Certs, etc.
You meant TT.
TT, and of course Suzanne is Suzanne and Enrico just announced they're going to run a Trainers Training in Melbourne.
In Melbourne,
coming up sometime soon. I saw that. I don't remember. I don't have the date in my head because I've been going through a lot at the moment. I'm literally 12 hours a day in the hospital, and then getting home at night and trying to get across all of the Facebook posts and everything. So catch up on getting people workbook kits and inviting new people and doing open frames and all those sorts of things. So I really haven't had much time to sleep. Rehash of Coach in June. Oh, awesome. Yeah, review.
The more times you can be in the room, at the back of the room, you're participating in Coach Cert, the better
Yeah.
The better you embody mBit, the better you understand why you're saying things, doing things, why other people are saying and doing things, why other people are not just idiots, you know, why something that has happened that we're not aware of has made them say what they've said. So I really got a lot out of sitting in the back room a heap of times, as many times as I could. I got a lot out of training for coach certifications before I was quite unwell. And go for it, Leah. Just do it. You're gonna have a really good time. Create your own little community within mBit if you are finding it difficult to connect with Melbourne people because you're sort of out in the bush or a little bit further away. Just do whatever you got to do. You're going to get a lot out of it.
Love the Aussie bush.
We love the bush, but
the bush.
Most of
Can't
us
wait to get back there.
Most of us
Just hanging out in Melbourne's not doing it for me anyway.
Ah, come on, man.
Hey.
I'm here.
That's why I'm here. Come have a barbecue with my friend.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the more trainers that you can see, like the more reviews you can do with different
trainers. Yeah.
Learn. I learn so much. I'm sitting back of, you know, and I hear a frame or I hear the sort of one of the things we'll teach you in trainers training is for you to own the coach cert your own way.
Yeah.
We do not do a cookie cutter prescriptive way. We teach you all the frames and all of the ways that Marvin and I designed it, and we explain why each piece is there, and then we go, you can change it and shift it and morph it, as long as you know if you remove something, why you're removing it, and what outcome that piece had, why it was there, and why it was expressed that way. And when you've got all that, it's really cool. So when you go to see another trainer, like, you know, Cheryl does she's got all that background in a lot of different trauma, polyvagal theory, you know, the horses, the work of horses. Yeah. She's got a huge background. So she brings a richness, you know, in her ways of the metaphors she chooses and the way she frames it, which would be different than somebody else, right? So the more people more trainers you can see as a trainer, I think, you know, as an up-and-coming trainer, the deeper your own coaching gets, the deeper your understanding of mBit and your own ontology shifts, and the more rich background you've got as a trainer.
Yeah, well, I had the pleasure of doing a coach cert with Bill Lee Emery. I was in master coach with, or trainers training or master coach with Viv, with Suzanne, not with Suzanne, with Viv, with Enrico, with Lorna, with yourself.
Yeah, and Suzanne was there as well.
I wasn't at that one. I was in the Melbourne trainers training. Yeah. Suzanne.
No, she wasn't there. She came to the master training.
So I've had the opportunity to learn, and it's true. Everything that you get from everybody else just allows you to make it a better version, make your training a better version. And Leah, I don't do a trainers training because I'm not a master coach. I was
master trainer.
I'm not a master trainer.
Master coach, not a master trainer. Yeah.
I was in hospital at that time, or very close to hospital, or just out of hospital, or something like that.
Yeah, it was.
So I didn't make it there, but I'll get there at some
operation
point.
you had to go to.
Yeah, an operation had to go.
It's a very successful one.
It was. So basically, I think where we're at, Grant, is that if anyone's interested in doing master coach certification,
come along.
Trainers training certification,
love to have you.
Yeah. Get in touch. Ask as many people that are already trainers to tell you, to give you their insights about it. Ask your master coaches that you know to give you insights about it. Just ask. Don't be shy. Don't think that you have to turn up without having the information that you want. Everyone's willing to share and give you as much information as you need. And I'm sure the trainers that are training it are going to be looking to make it as easy as possible for you to get there. So find out whether or not they can make it possible for you to get there.
And by the way, this didn't start out, beautiful ad, thank you, I really appreciate what you just said. This didn't start out to be an ad. This really was just, we're having a yap about some of the BFOs, and I was sharing with Bill some of the master coach stuff. Yeah. And he went, let's do this live, and we just thought that, you guys out there might enjoy hearing some of the, whether you ever come to master coach or not, and I hope you do, because it truly is profound. But whether you do or not, just thought you might really find it fascinating to hear where mBit is evolving to, the deeper levels. So if you guys, so apologies if we've started to sound like we're proselytizing and doing an ad. We didn't mean to, but we're just so passionate about this stuff. We love it, and it is a community thing. Bill was saying, hey, it's amazing watching over that, because Bill was at the first Australian of a coach cert, right, that Marvin and I did. We had 6 or 7 people in a little room there. Thank you, Dave. It's grown and grown and grown now. Like your Radio mBit, it's across so many countries now, right?
Well, 35 countries.
35 countries are tuned into Radio mBit. 28 countries have got coaches and trainers in them. I mean, it's just heard from the Chinese publisher, the Chinese version of mBraining is coming out in, what did they say, July?
Oh, wow.
So, you know, it's actually already translated, just going through editing now.
And it's already been printed
in Italian. You know, we've already got the first year of numbers. They sold a couple of thousand books in the first year. Yeah. It's just amazing, right? So, and the Dutch version translation's nearly finished, and that'll be, you know, being published soon. So it's just like, you know, the Spanish version's coming. We've signed an agreement on that with.
Golly.
Yeah. So,
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, well, there's all this stuff I don't ever always announce everything because, you know, but it's kind of growing, and Bill's going, you know, watching this over the last 4 years, something like that.
2012. Yeah. November 2012.
Oh, it's coming up to 5 years. That's right. And I always said that they say it takes 5 years to be an overnight success. We're about to be an overnight success. We've gone exponential. Yeah. And so Bill's saying it's amazing the vibrancy of the community that we've created, right? And I said, well, that he said that I'd created, and I went, it's not. It's the tribe. It's we have all created. You know, if I try to do it by myself, forget it. But as a beautiful tribe, we've done it together.
How Spanish? About Spanish?
Yeah, that's coming. It's coming. I've signed an agreement with one of the mBit trainers who's Spanish. And hey, John, how you going, buddy?
Let's see. We keep missing the comments because we're too busy chatting.
Yeah, too busy enjoying ourselves. Sorry about that, guys. Hope you're enjoying our nattering. We should probably finish up. Phil's got things to do. I got to go and cut grass tomorrow before, you know, going and looking after Mum. So lots to do. Just wanted to share this yap with you, as we say in Ausland.
That's it. If anyone wants to get in touch with anybody, just get in touch, send them an email. Everyone wants to hear from you. Everyone wants to answer the questions that you think you shouldn't be asking. Ask them. Don't worry about it. It's all good. If you want to be on the podcast, if you've got an amazing way that you share mBraining or train mBraining or teach mBraining or coach mBraining, get in touch. Let's tell the world about what it is that you do. You know, allow the gutsy courage to come up and allow it to take action on. Allow yourself to take action on it and get in touch and allow me to help you get your message out there, because that's what the mBraining show is about. It's about me allowing you to get your message out there. It doesn't cost you anything. Just, guys, get in touch. mBrainingshow.com. If you have never heard of it, jump on and have a listen. It goes to 35 countries. And thanks for the hugs.
There's a hug and
the
a heart.
smiley faces.
I love it.
They need a gut.
They need a gut. Needs a gutsy stuff. Yeah. Love it.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys, for listening to us. Wherever it's morning or night.
Yeah, we had fun.
Hey, ciao, ciao.
Bye.